Hello, 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 and welcome back to another episode of Gen Ed. I'm Louis Friedland Just, your host. I'm joined by the amazing Alana Schwartz, and today we have a very special guest for you. I know I say this every single time, but today is indeed an exceptional guest. She's a high school student, a self-made performer and speaker, and chapter president of Teach for Speech Toronto. It is Ella Wang. Hello, Ella.
Hi.
So let's get right into it, right off bat. You're involved in tons of activities, and I won't, list all of them. I listed quite a few of them at the beginning, but, you also are involved in I Ascend, a nonprofit for youth. You used to be involved as a media lead in the Global Spotlight Foundation. You're involved in tons of clubs, I see, at school, Model UN, Physics Club, Neuroscience. What drives you to get involved in so many activities at a young age? Why do you do so many activities? Why do you do so much?
I think it really stems from, just like, why not? There's this whole community out there, and it's just so much fun to get involved with that community and to meet new people and to build on those relationships. And what's better is that through these, you can create your own community. And with that, there's just so much things you can do within it. There's just so much impact you can create within the community. And I think that is just the big point of it. There's this huge community that's already out there and that you can join and help to better it. And there's also this community that you can create for your own and a community that can be truly yours. So yeah, why not join it?
Yeah.
Assume that during COVID, your sense of community has changed a little bit. Has COVID changed any of your extracurricular activities in high school, at least? I know for university students it definitely has, but for high school, how's that been for you?
Yeah, most of my athletics have been canceled. Pre-COVID, I was involved in a lot of sports. I was doing slow pitch at school, also table tennis. And with COVID, most of the things got canceled and sports got canceled a lot. And I think for my school, athletics is the bonding point for most of the people within the community. So that, I think, really affected people who were very athletic and very devoted to the community. But I think in another way that led us to kind of another solution for community. Through that, we learned that there isn't just this one way we can communicate and one way we can connect through athletics. And we can surely connect online. We can all do our own thing and all do independent sports together, but still be together and have a community together, even though we're not directly together. So I think COVID has definitely changed communities, but it can be better for the better or for the worse. There isn't really a strict and COVID messed it up or COVID made everything great. So
What's it like now? Are you currently in school or is it hybrid, kind of virtual as well? What's it like now compared to before COVID?
Oh, right now we're doing a fully in person and a fully virtual mode, at least in where I am. So I'm in the fully virtual mode, which is a little bit over 2 hours of classes in the morning, and then afternoon, after an hour lunch break, we have the same thing. And we're basically with the same, I guess, teachers and the same classmates as the in-class people. And we just learn through, I guess, a shared screen, maybe a Google Meets, Microsoft Teams, Zoom meeting. But I think overall it has been a pretty good experience. We get to still interact with students within the classroom while also being able to learn from the safety of our homes.
You said 2 hours in the morning and then the same thing in the afternoon. So you have 4 hours of class a day?
Yeah, around there.
Oh, okay. Now I see why you have time to do all these extra activities. That's a ton of extra time. I think when I was in high school, we started at 8 o'clock and went all the way until 12. And then we started up again at 1:30 and went all the way until 4:30. We had about 6 hours of class a day.
Wow, that's
a little bit
lot.
more than that, maybe.
That's crazy compared to the States. You start, I guess for me, high school, which is, I think, a very regional difference in the States. Some schools might start at 8, but my school started at 9. So we were from 9 all the way till 4:30. And we got a 45-minute lunch break in between. So yeah, it's crazy. What's it like being in high school in Canada? I feel like I'm sounding like a pretty dumb American over here, but I'm really interested in, what is it, a rotating schedule where you have some classes one day and then it switches to the next day? What's your schedule like? Give me a day in the life of Ella.
I'll make a note, by the way, that Alana has never asked me this question.
Yeah.
She's been saving this, apparently, for the guests.
Well, we gotta talk about your day in the life after this. I basically start off around I would say around 8:20, 8:30ish, depending on when like my first teacher wants to start the lesson.
Mm.
And with that, we usually go for about maybe an hour and a half ish, and then we probably have to take a break until then because high school students, how long can we actually focus for? Not long. I wouldn't say I can focus for long. So we would take a break around then, and we would go back to the same class for maybe an hour more, half an hour more, and then it'll be a lunch break. Our lunch break is actually quite long, so it's definitely a lot more longer than like a lunchtime break. So during that time, I can like maybe go outside, maybe catch up on extracurriculars, catch up on homework, maybe practice music. Like I have a lot of freedom during my lunchtime on what I do. And then afterwards, we have like another class. This will be like a different class in the afternoon. Usually, we'll have a break in between, but if there's like a long assessment or like a long project we need to complete, then I don't think we'll get a break. But it completely depends on our teacher when he or she wants to schedule that specific break. And yeah, after school is mostly extracurriculars and all the other different performing stuff. So yeah, I think my school day is just pretty limited to like the two blocks, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, and then afterwards, it's pretty much self study time and preparing.
And what classes are you taking?
I think this term I'm taking two classes at a time. And I have my first two as English and law. And then I have my second two as economics and also math. I'm thinking about maybe dropping one of them since it's quite a heavy course load, but still thinking about it.
So English, law, economics, and math. Is that a
Yeah.
hint of like what you want to study in university? Because I know that you're graduating next year, right?
Yeah, I'm graduating really soon. And yeah, I think the reason I'm taking all of these is because I don't know what I wanted to do. And, I'm just taking diverse courses to try to figure out what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, a lot of my friends say that maybe law is a good area for me. But I also want to test out economics and business since that's like an area that I've been interested in before. But I don't think I've looked too deeply into it. So I want to look into all these different areas to just kind of figure out what I want to do. But I have a few more months, so hopefully I can decide by then.
And everyone's still so young, so there's no pressure to figure out what you want to do for the rest of your life. But it's great to have many passions and really find out what you're interested in. So I know Lewis mentioned that you did a physics club. Is that correct?
Oh, I participated in a physics club in grade 9, I think. Maybe a bit of grade 10.
Oh. So are
Yeah.
you still interested in science, or you're more headed towards like English, law, business?
I guess I'm still interested in science, but not in that way. I want to, I guess, pursue a career in it. So I guess that's one of the good parts of, doing a lot of different activities. You might not necessarily find exactly like every single thing you're interested in. But if you find things like you're not interested in, it's also good because it's like an order of elimination. As long as you find what you don't like, you'll eventually get closer to what you like. So, yeah.
That's true. At least you'll know that you won't be doing something you don't like. That's the minimal right
Yeah.
there. Now, circling back to business, you have a little bit of experience in business because, or not business proper, but entrepreneurship. You founded your own nonprofit where I don't completely understand, but I believe you go around and you perform at various nonprofit events, correct? And also you also perform not only as an instrumentalist, but also as a public speaker.
Yeah, you got it.
And so, how did you start doing that? How did that start up?
Oh, this is actually quite an interesting story. So, when I lived in China, I immigrated here from China, by the way. So, when I was in China, we lived pretty close to like a music school. And so, my mom was like, why not try and figure out something you like to do? Like, try a hobby. You still have plenty of time. I wasn't in school back then, I was like 3 or 4. So, I was like, sure, why not? So, yeah, we basically walked into the shop and then like my instrument had like these fancy nails. So I looked at the nails. I was like, those are so cool. I want to try those. I didn't even look at the instrument. I was like, the nails, just the nails. So yeah, that's pretty much how I started music. I was like, I want those nails. So I'm gonna learn that instrument. It wasn't like I'm gonna learn the instrument, so I'll take the nails. But yeah, I somehow managed to stick with the same instrument despite that interesting start. So yeah, I think with that, I first started with performing with like my group and my company,
Mm.
and that eventually turned into emceeing events.
Oh, what instrument? I'm sorry.
Oh
What
yeah,
instrument?
I play a traditional Chinese instrument. It has 21 strings. It's called guzheng.
That's really interesting.
It's
I've
like a
never heard of
harp.
it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe it's one of those harps that you sit down, correct?
Yeah, yeah, it's the ones
Yeah.
that lay like horizontally with like
Mhm.
the strings that are horizontally like that.
It was very popular at my school. We had
Really?
we had whole like groups dedicated to. I'm not going to risk pronouncing the name because I don't want to massacre it on the air. But we did have groups of people that were really interested in it, and they all went and like played that.
Wow. Yeah, I never had one of those at my school, but it sounds like fun though.
I mean, to be fair, I went to a high school that was like 75% Chinese, so
Uh,
there was a certain amount of probability there.
yeah, yeah, it's quite a popular instrument in China.
But anyhow, so now that you've done that, you travel around and you play at various events. What is the most memorable event for you?
Ooh, my most memorable event definitely has to be my performance for Asian Heritage Month this May. I
Mm,
know everything with like, Asian hate, especially with COVID and everything. I was really, really excited to perform for Markham Arts Council for Asian Heritage Month and to really address the problem. Like this Asian Heritage Month, we're talking about Asian heritage. There's nothing wrong with just being Asian or being Chinese in general, and that there's just so much more to it than just, COVID and what else people think about when they think about Asian culture.
And so you mentioned actually right off the bat, the story about playing your instrument. And also, when you introduce yourself online, you often introduce yourself as an East Asian immigrant. How has being an East Asian immigrant impacted, you think, your vision and your goals today, basically?
Yeah, I think for me, this whole journey of being an immigrant and going from one culture to the next really helped me see from different perspectives.
Mm,
Like this is a perspective that I would think about if I was looking at it through the lens of a Chinese person. Not like there's a specific division between the two perspectives, but I
mm,
think there would be like a difference in, I guess, just the way you look at things in general.
mm.
So being able to look at things from different perspectives and think about how to adapt to these different situations that come up really helped to shape me as a person and how I view the world. And that in turn helped to shape a lot of my goals and what I want to focus on.
Is your school predominantly Asian or the community that you live in?
I wouldn't say it's like predominantly one culture. I think it's a pretty diverse area.
Mhm.
That's like pretty much what the whole Toronto area is known for.
Indeed,
How
indeed.
old were you when you immigrated to Canada?
Oh, I was in elementary school, so I still had a lot of time to learn and adapt to, I guess, the English culture while still being able to preserve a lot of my East Asian roots.
That's still a big change for such a little kid. How was that experience like moving to a totally different country and a totally different language?
Ooh, it was quite a bit of a shock at first. Like to be honest, I've never really thought of moving before I actually moved. It was like my parents told me like we were gonna move, and I was like, okay, we're gonna move, and that was like the end of the train of thoughts for me. So when I came here, I didn't really have any mental preparation around that. So it was a big shock. I wasn't used to a lot of the culture and a lot of the language since, you probably don't speak English in East Asia. So yeah, I had to learn English, but I think my English is pretty good now.
Mm,
You probably won't be
I'd
able to
agree.
tell, but yeah.
I'd agree. And do you have any advice, for example, to someone who is going through a similar change, like a huge change in their life, as a student, as a young student? Like, what were things that helped you get through it?
Ooh, a big thing for me was just the entire mindset around it. When I
Mm,
first came, the thing I kept on telling myself was, I'm not good at English.
mm,
And I'm probably not going to be good at English since I had such a late start compared to everyone around me. So I just kept on telling myself, like, you're not good at English. You're not going to be good enough to do this. You can't do this. And eventually I started introducing myself as I can't speak English. Like I'm Ella and I can't speak English. Just so people would kind of know that I can't speak English and they won't judge me for it. But
mm,
I think that in turn really restricted my ability to learn. Like I stopped thinking that I was able to learn. And others around me kind of I wouldn't say I like directly told them like I won't be able to learn, but I think that kind of gave out the message that I'm not interested in learning it. So I think that kind of restricted how everyone around me was able to support me and how I was learning it. So by like when I realized that, I just quickly tweaked how I think about it. Like I'm not someone who can't speak English. I'm just learning it.
Mm,
Like I'm an English learner. So I think that that little tweak, it's really small and it's not as like as big of a shift as someone who just like magically learns English one day. But that little part really helped shift my identity and how I see myself. And not only was I more interested in learning English, but others around me were also interested in helping me. That really drive my learning process with English. And yeah, that kind of led me to where I am today. So I would say just embrace that identity of not knowing something and be interested in learning and go for it. Mindset is really key here. Think about what you can accomplish. It's like what people say with like I can't do it yet,
mm.
like the power of yet at the bottom. I think that's really really important.
The power of yet, a sentence that is definitely like worthy of a public speaker and a keynote speaker. How did you get into that actually? Like, was it a smooth transition from emceeing? You just decided like, okay, well, like I started off playing, then I started off talking between playing, and now I just go on full on talking. How was that?
I think there was also this translator phase in between.
Mm,
I translate between English and Mandarin sometimes, so I sometimes translate for concerts and events with that. And yeah, through that, people were like, "Hey, you like translate quite fluently without reading the script. So do you want to just host this event?" I was like, "Whoa, what? Now I'm doing what? Can I even do this?" So it was quite a bit of a shock at me for at first. I didn't know if I could do it, but I just went for it. What's the worst thing that can happen? I can
mm.
probably mess up and nothing bad would come out of it. So I tried it and yeah, it was something that I really liked, so I stuck to it.
That's amazing. That was kind of that positive mindset you had when you were first learning English. You just said before
Ooh.
how you changed your mindset and said how I can't speak English to I can speak English. I'm simply learning English. And now you're
Mm.
totally emceeing and leading big public speaking events in your second language, which is amazing and really inspiring. And that's kind of that mindset that you've had all these years. So, what motivates you to keep doing these like inspiring events and spread the message that you're trying to spread?
Well, I think a big part for me is just the community that I've built. They're so encouraging and so supportive of what I do. And obviously, I mess up every here and there, but everyone is just so encouraging and they keep on empowering me to do better. So, the community around me, whether it's people that I met through events or even my family and friends, they're always there for me. And I think that important part is what kept me going. Even if I fail or slip up, I know that it's okay, that I'm still learning it. And I still have everyone around me to kind of support me and to tell me that, yes, you can still do it. And they always cheer me on. So I'm so thankful and grateful for everyone who has helped me with that.
And is that what prompted you to get involved in ISEND and other youth nonprofits?
Yeah. I think a friend I was calling told me that he was having like this whole internship opportunity at
Mhm.
ISN. And I think it was something that I really wanted to learn more about since it covers like the basics of business and all of that.
Mhm.
So I joined, and later that internship like changed within, I would say, a month or two. And I eventually got involved in the organization as an associate. So yeah.
That's really cool. And what do you do at ISN specifically, like on a day-to-day basis?
Oh, I first started with leading the iStartup team, which is a business competition for high school students.
Mm,
And we started it with, I think, I would say around almost 100 participants. So we went through different phases where there were different workshops about like business plans, how to follow your passion, your dreams, how to write like financial statements. And eventually through that, we were able to select the best pitches and the best acts. And they went through a really good mentorship process with great industry leaders. And yeah, I was able to help and support many of these businesses. And we eventually chose our top three, which we gave some financial support and granting to. And yeah, they're just about to launch their business. So I'm really, really excited for that. And right now,
Wow.
after the I Startup program is over, right now we're doing this whole scholarship session for high school students joining university. I'm like one of the younger ones at I Startup, ISN. So it's basically university students to high school students. But for me, it's like high school students to high school students. So I'm learning as I go along as well.
And are you looking forward to university? What are your plans for the future?
Yeah, I'm really excited and also nervous for that change. I don't know exactly what I want to do yet for university, but I think I want to stay somewhere decently close to home, so around central Ontario, the central Ontario area. Probably going to be attending university somewhere close. That is if I can get in. That's like the first thing, if I can get in.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. The amount of extracurricular activities that you do, that looks great on a CV. And those are the little extra things aside from grades that really get you into the places you want to go.
It's assuring to hear that from a current university student.
Yes, your resume sounds like you're really well offset and you have a really great story. So I think that will help you. And I know you're definitely going to succeed no matter where you go. So I think you don't have to worry as much as you're thinking.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of resumes and all of that, that's one thing that I saw specifically on your resume, or rather on your LinkedIn page. By the way, if you guys haven't already, definitely go check out her LinkedIn page, Ella Wang. But on your LinkedIn page, one thing that really stood out to me was your role as a chapter president and founder of the chapter, in fact, for Teach for Speech Toronto. You want to talk to us about that, or how you got the idea to start that up and associate yourself with the greater Teach for Speech organization, I assume.
Yeah, last December I was involved in quite like a few community groups, and I was just looking through like a Slack channel. There was this opportunity section, and I was just looking through it and I saw this opportunity and I was like, wow, this is exactly what we need right here. In Canada, especially around where I am, there aren't a lot of, I guess, nonprofit public speaking events.
Mm.
I think it's just I guess a culture that everyone is just taught to speak, and that's it. Like we don't enhance those skills. And as someone who used to struggle a lot with speaking since English is my second language, I felt that was something that the community could benefit from a lot. So I thought, why not start a chapter where we would need it the most? So yeah, I contacted the overall lead, and he was like, sure, I think this is a great idea, and we were able to launch it last December.
Very impressive. And what do you do there exactly for Teach for Speech?
Oh, I basically overlook the different departments we have. Currently, we're running a mentorship program, as well as we're giving out different tips on our Instagram every Tuesday. We call it Tuesday Tips. It's like the double
Mm.
T, really cute. And yeah, we try to offer middle school students and early high school students an opportunity to learn about public speaking and to enhance those skills and to just overcome that fear and that mindset that I can't do it.
And so what would be one tip that you would give to, I mean, we already spoke about one tip you would give to students who are experiencing, like a huge change through immigration, for example. But what would you give to a tip to a student who thinks that they're just not good enough at public speaking? I know that in high school, I refrained from speaking and doing improv and like activities in front of people in French. In English, I was fine because it's my native tongue, but in French, I would refrain from doing that. And I think I would have benefited from a little bit of guidance and the kind of support that Teach for Speech provides. So, what is one piece of advice that you would offer to students who think it's not for them?
You need to find that community and that support system who tells you that you can do it, even if it's just one person that you need to find. And you can also be that one person for yourself too, but find that group that embraces it's okay to make a mistake, and that group that encourages you and teaches you and support you through everything. It doesn't have to be like this group that you're constantly with. It doesn't have to be like an hour a day dedication. It could be maybe an hour a week, maybe half an hour a week, But, some is better than none, and we all have different levels of comfort. So it's okay to start with like maybe half an hour a week and eventually work yourself up. That's a part of what we're trying to do with Teacher Speech's mentorship program. We give out classes in really small sizes. So maybe it's like two teachers and like two or three, maximum of four students. And we try to really establish that connection and that encouragement and support before we go into like the details of going into our comfort zone and being uncomfortable.
So, would you recommend someone who's trying to improve their public speaking skills to maybe start with a group of small family friends and talk to them, and then slowly, gradually get that crowd to be a little bit bigger? And
Yeah.
then when you're on stage, you said you MC'd before. What are your tips to not freaking out while on stage or falling upon your words?
Yeah, I think it really goes back to starting off with a small group. I think once you get the hang of it, it's like that you get the flow. And a part that I try to really focus on is just practice. Practice eventually gets your skill levels up. And I think it's when you reach a level where you feel like this is like the best that I can do. Like I've practiced the most I can do and I've tried to learn the most. I've taken the most amount of courses that I could have. Not that like this is the most amount of courses anyone could have taken in the world, but this is my personal best, and whatever I can perform with my personal best, I'm satisfied with it. I think that was my mentality when I went into a lot of emceeing events, especially those really big ones, because you're bound to make some mistakes,
Mm.
and there are just so many people, especially like the important figures there, like the mayor, whoever is there, and they're all listening to you. But just knowing that it's your personal best, you did your best that you can, and that is probably the best job there is.
I know for one that whenever I make a mistake, when I'm public speaking in front of a big group, that really bothers me. And it won't get it off my mind. And it's worse if it's recorded. This
Oh, yes.
podcast is an example of that, actually, too. But I edit myself in the podcast. So, not all my errors are actually heard by the general public. I get to control how much embarrassment goes out. But yeah, that's definitely something that I can relate to on a personal level.
Yeah, I hate recorded things as well. I used to really hate them. I used to like record myself like 10 times and
Mm,
delete all 10 attempts.
With
yeah.
the podcast, we probably can't do that because
Yeah, it's long.
we take forever. But sometimes when I
Yeah.
listen back to some of the earlier podcasts, I realize how many times I say the word like.
Mm.
And so now I'm trying to get that out of my vocabulary, especially while recording podcasts, because I hate when people say like, and I'm a victim of that crime. So what can I say? I just like to laugh off my mistakes. I
It's an
find the
American
humorous.
speech tick. You can't help it. You can't help
Uh,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
back to the playing the American card, Lewis. I see.
Yeah, we don't usually notice that though. I've never actually like listened to a specific person and went like, this person said 10 times. This person said like 9 times. This person said like 3 times. It's not something where you're looking for, so you're good. You're good.
It's true though. It's true. You never like actually care or pay attention to the errors that people make unless they're like
Mhm.
unless it's a huge error. But most of the time when you're listening
Yeah.
to someone, you'll like maybe make a note of it, but that's pretty much it. Like no one really cares about the errors that,
Mhm.
someone makes in a large speech.
No one cares.
No.
Quote.
We're
Very
not a
quote.
teacher trying to like mark a student on the words they say, like word choice, 10 out of 10.
It's true. It's true. Now, okay, so podcast is kind of coming to a close now. We're at the 30-minute mark. And we spoke about a lot of different extracurricular activities that you've been through as a high school
Mhm.
student. And I was wondering, how do you manage to juggle all of these activities?
I think a big tip for any student going into this is to know that you don't have to do everything. I definitely didn't start off with
Mm.
everything. I started off with one instrument, actually the nails. I started off with the nails before the instrument. But you can start with one thing and eventually work your way up. You don't have to jump right in and try to juggle 10 things at once. Because I've tried it and it doesn't work. It mostly fails. And once you've gone to like a certain level and you've reached your breaking point, it's okay to take a step back. If you can't meet all your deadlines, it's okay to drop a few commitments. There's no strict rule saying you can't drop a commitment once you've taken a nub. Even though it might not be the best thing to drop a commitment, it's better to drop it than to say I'm committed to it and not be able to actually meet all the deadlines. So it's okay to not do some things, and it's okay to say no. Just work your way up slowly and know your own limits and what you can do. That's definitely what I did when I started off as well.
Do you have any secret time management tricks for the other students? Because you know that is the keyword
Oh,
in the student community right now, time management. So do you
yeah.
have any time management tricks for all your fellow high school students?
Oh, yeah. A big thing I told my friends, and a lot of the things that were emphasized on workshops for students, especially, is to look for patterns in what you do.
Mm,
When I first tried to be like as productive as I can and to like try to multiply my time and do everything possible, I felt like I was on this like productivity roller coaster. Like I
mhm,
first started off with being unproductive, and then I just felt so bad, like so guilty for wasting my time that I just try to do everything, and I felt like my progress went like up really, really slowly. But once I reach a really like tip, once I reached the top point and I felt like I couldn't do anymore, I just felt like I was dropping. I was like exhausted and really tired. So I slowly dropped off. And then I was bottom at the bottom again. And then I felt bad. And then I tried to do everything. And then I reached exhaustion and then I dropped. So I felt like I was like constantly up and down and up and down.
mhm.
And finding that pattern really led me to realize like, hey, why was I doing this and how can I counter it? When I felt really guilty for what I do, how can I make myself feel less guilty without going on this ride? When I felt really exhausted, how can I not be exhausted and kind of balance that out? Have something that still excites me and keep me motivated. So I'm not going up and down on this crazy ride, but I'm going really, really, really steady.
Mm.
For me, that point for me to balance it is when I feel guilty, I would first write down what I need to do instead of just diving head into it. And then I would spread it out slowly. So at that point I felt like it felt like I was controlling everything in my life and I knew exactly where I need everything to be. And that also gave me rest time so I wasn't falling off my productivity curve from like exhaustion or something like that. So trying to really pinpoint that pattern, I will say, summarizing it, pinpoint the pattern and find things that counter the bad parts and keep you on like a steady productivity rate.
A steady productivity train. That is a perfect quote.
Exactly.
At the end of all of these episodes, we normally come up with some quote or another from the speaker. I think that is the quote. We have found the quote for the episode, the steady productivity train. And yeah, thank you so much, Ella, for joining us today for this episode of Gen Ed. It was a pleasure having you on.
Yeah, absolutely. It was great speaking with you.
And so, I mean, best of luck in, first of all, choosing what you want to do, finding a university to go to, but then also all of your extracurricular and personal endeavors. Best of luck in all of that as well.
Thank you so much.
I wish you the very best. So, join us next week for another amazing episode of Gen Ed. I'm Louis Friedland, joined by the amazing Alana as well. See you all next week. Bye bye.